Welcome to Beautiful Iron Garage. We're back and we are in a new shop. It's been about a year. A lot has happened in that time. We bought a house. It's got this great garage out back and finally got it so I can work in here with no issues. I got all my tools, all my equipment in here, and it's time to work on some more projects. This is my personal car. It is a 1930 Ford Model A sedan. I built it about 5 years ago, and what we're doing right now is we want to build an exhaust because we want it to be a comfortable cruising car for this summer. So I did some sound deadening inside to get rid of the tin can sound, and next up is the exhaust. So these pipes are from a guy. His business is called Gear Drive. He's out of Minnesota. He makes these by hand, one at a time. They're really, really nice, but there's no provision for a downpipe. And I didn't want to cut these up because supposedly he's not making these anymore, and I don't want to modify them. I'd like to keep these for a future project or something else. So I bought a more mass-produced style of this. Fit and finish isn't quite as good, but it's going to work for what we're doing here. So let's get started. I'll show you what we got for parts. So here's what we're starting with. We have a lake style header. This is stainless steel. I bought the set of these on eBay. They were really cheap. It was like $120. So I really wasn't expecting too much out of them as far as weld quality and fit and finish, but they are decent. And when they're painted black, which they will be, they're going to be fine for this car. So they come with a turn down extension, and this you can weld the rest of your exhaust on it, as well as the cap, all the hardware, and all the gaskets to put together. And then I got some mandrel bent tubing. This is 2.5 inch, came from Jags. Vibrant Performance is the company that makes this. And this is a generic Jags glass pack, 2.5 inch in and out. So what we're basically going to be doing is mounting this to the engine like we would, and then we're going to mock up our glass pack up under the body, kind of like a side pipe. So basically what it's going to do is mimic the side profile of the frame that you can see under the car. And that's the whole idea. Is I want the exhaust, I don't want to see it hanging down below the body, and I really don't want to mess up the profile of the car, but for noise reasons, it'll be worth it to throw off the looks just a little bit. So let's get the old header off the car, get everything cleaned up, and then we'll mock this stuff up, and I'll show you how we're going to cut this tubing and shape it to get what we want as far as the exhaust goes. So here we go. So I got the old header out of the way, and this car has been sitting in the corner of my shop for 2 years, and it's collected quite a bit of dust. So I'm going to take this opportunity to just use some detail spray, spray everything down, and just wipe this thick layer of dust off of it now that I have the chance. This stuff is cheap, came from the auto parts store, nothing special. This isn't a show car or anything, but it's nice that I can get to it every once in a while and at least clean some of it off. Just take a regular old dirty rag and start wiping it away. This frame was never ever as clean as it was when it was first painted by my friend Jeff at Paradigm Auto Restorations down in Sparkhill, New York. Base coat, clear coat, did a really nice job. I've dropped plenty of tools on it and chipped it up. Sorry, Jeff. Kind of adds to the character of the worn looking hot rod. It's funny, this engine looks like it's been sitting around for 100 years, but it's actually got about 2 miles on it. I built this right before I took it off the road the last time. It's a 283, 30 thousandths overbore. It's got a 327 L79 spec cam, flat top pistons. Not a crazy build, but my first engine build from a bare block. Had the machine work done by a local guy, Dave Hunt's machine over in Schenectady. And I was really happy with the work that they did, and the thing runs beautiful. Broke it in and I drove it a little bit, and that's essentially it. So it's sitting ever since, which I do feel a little guilty about, but being that we started the metal shaping business about 2 years ago, I haven't had a whole lot of time to mess around with stuff like this. I've been trying to just focus on paying jobs and making everybody else happy, but this time it's about me. So it's time for the fun part. Mock up this header. I got the engine and the chassis over here about as clean as I care to make it. And we're gonna fit this thing up, use some of the new hardware. And I'd like to put all the bolts in. I wanna make sure everything lines up before I continue on, so I don't have to, you know, oblong one of these holes or mess around with the other bracket and fitting it. I want to make sure it's all right before it's painted and I'm ready to put it on, because there's nothing worse than doing stuff twice. I will use lock washers or something on these two to make sure my alternator doesn't decide to come loose on me. So before I get this fit up, I'm just going to take the paint around where I'm going to be welding off on both ends, just so I can have it fit up, and then when I get my pipe to it, I can just quick take the Mig Welder and do some tacks, so I don't have to get it fit up, mark everything, take it out, grind it again. So I'm just going to get that paint and wear a mask. This stuff is pretty nasty. We got our glass pack. The ends are cleaned up, and some of these aren't directional, but this one is. Basically, your inlet, you want to be able to look inside and see the little perforated holes, because that's what's going to be catching the exhaust and kind of funneling into the packing inside. The other way is just smooth. So if you run it like this, it's basically, there's no point to having a muffler at all. You just basically have a straight exhaust pipe, which defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do. So I've got my glass pack muffler sitting here on jack stands. It's right where I want it to be. It's in a little ways, but it's far enough from the frame that I don't think it's going to hurt anything, and it's got about an inch from the body on the top, so shouldn't be any issues with heat there. Now the tricky part is coming from this down pipe and this collector or extension, whatever you want to call it, and then we have to do kind of a couple little twirls to get it to connect with the front of this exhaust. And now I know this down pipe is going to have to be cut as short as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark it right about where the head of this bolt is. So there's only about a ½ an inch of that hanging off. So I'm going to cut that now, get this bolted up tight, and I'm going to take this, start making some measurements and figure out what kind of maneuvers I'm going to have to do to connect the two. So I know we're going to have to go down somewhere along the lines because I don't have a tight enough bend to go right from there to there. So think if I eyeball it, and it's going to be slipped into the tube a little bit. So I think somewhere, like that mark I already had, is going to be perfect. And then I can slide it in as much as I need to get our bend coming out of here to line up. So I'm going to show you, when you go to cut a piece of tubing like this, you want to cut it straight through so that after you cut it, you have a perfect circle. Not if you cut it at an angle like this, you're going to have an oval and it's not going to line up with your other pipes, and you're going to end up ruining your nice mandrel bent piece you got. You're going to have to order another one, but it's always a good idea to order extra of these. I didn't do that. Smart or not, I don't know, that remains to be seen. But so I'm going to cut this, slide it in there, and then we're going to figure out what we need to go from our down pipe here to make it over to that bend. So I got this piece slipped in there, and then I took and I cut a little extra off, and I have this marking where, if you look, I can't get it up there quite enough, that should be right on the money to connect this one to that one. Yeah. Actually, it might be a little less than that. Do you have a marker, Maggie? My lovely assistant. That's the thing with tube, is when it's hard to mark when you don't know where it is. Actually, I think my original mark was right on. Yeah. So we're gonna go with this, cut it, get it fit. If everything's good, we'll get out the Mig welder and tack it in. So I got this curved piece cut. Took a couple trips back and forth, but it fits just beautifully. I get it just right between this pipe and the turn down. So I got my welder set up, everything's on. Put your hood down, Maggie. I'm gonna tack it. One there. And then one up here. Let's see how that looks on the car. So I made this little tab with a hole in it. It's just going to support the back of the exhaust here. Just going to weld it to the top of the pipe and drill a hole into the frame or the body support that's right here, and that's going to support the whole back. Once I get that tacked down, I can take this whole thing off and weld it solid and clean it up. So I'm going to get this welded on, and then we'll go from there. We're getting close on this thing. Tight right there. Just zap it. Ready?
Yep.
beauty. One more time. Alright. Perfect, and that's not going anywhere. It's weld time. Get our table cleaned up and we'll get this thing fully welded together. All right, folks, it's weld time. Normally, just about everything I do is TIG welding, but for a couple of reasons, I'm gonna MIG weld this. One is it's pretty much just mild steel exhaust tubing, so a MIG weld is usually just a little bit better on it, a little easier to do, and I just bought this welder. It's a Lincoln 180. Thing is beautiful right out the box. I got my spare little dinky tank on the back, so it looks a little funny, but so far I've been pretty happy with it. I've had it maybe a week now, a week and a half. Like I said, right out of the box it welds great, and I just want to stretch its legs a little bit, so easy to do this project. Put your hood down. All right. So it's all welded up, fits beautifully. I ground the welds down, didn't go too crazy, but I think it looks really good. It's exactly what I had in mind, just once it's black, it'll sort of blend in with the line of that frame right there under the body. That's what I wanted. It's exactly what I wanted to do. Got some exhaust, got some, you know, sound deadening, I guess, with the muffler. But it still fits with the, you know, vintage looking hot rod theme, so I'm happy with that. So now that I know everything's good, I'm gonna drop this down. I'm gonna take the header off, paint them both with high temperature black paint, and we'll be back in a couple hours installing the stuff for good. So I got the header and the side pipe scuffed up pretty good. I'm gonna paint it with VHT header paint. Seems to work pretty good. So I'm just going to do one really light coat and then one or two coats just to get everything covered. Thin is good with this stuff. It dries pretty quick. So with any luck we'll be able to put this stuff on later today. Should cut good. Okay. You do one light coat, call it a tack coat. It's something for the next heavier coat to stick to so it doesn't all run down. Especially if you have it hanging at a 90-degree angle from your garage door frame. right. So I'm happy with that as a first coat. We'll let that flash off and we'll do one or two more, whatever it takes to get it fully covered. So I got the header on, I got a little ANSI, hooked up the alternator, put everything back on, everything fits really nice, no problem, looks good. I'm just gonna unhook my side pipe here. It's been a couple hours, stuff is pretty dry, I just don't like touching it with my bare hands because it leaves fingerprints all over. Let me get this hardware. It's where you wish you had another arm, or you took your time and put up a stand or got all your tools right here, whatever. That's not very fun. Almost. I think I got it started. Most definitely. So it's the next day. Everything is on. Other header is on. The other exhaust system is on. I actually did that before this one, which was a little sneaky trick. I worked all night. I got the battery in. I wasn't able to get the fuel system completely hooked up. Missing a couple fittings. But poured some gas in the carb. I should be able to fire it up for at least a couple seconds to see what it sounds like. So here we go. Header paint's cooking. When you do that black VHT, spray it on, fire it up just so it's hot enough for it to start smoking like that, and then it'll bake to the pipes. And once it's cooled off, it's good for, I don't know, in my experience, it's about good for 2 years, and then scuff them down and repaint them again. But I think because the headers are actually stainless, it should last for a pretty long time. But I'm really happy with it. Should be a good cruiser. It's a lot quieter than the way it was before. So that's it, folks. Headers are on, exhaust is done. I'm really happy with it. And if you like this video, subscribe and like and comment. And the next time you see this thing, we should be taking it on its first test drive. Thanks.